Kia ora, mates. Yes, I am still in New Zealand. It's a long trip. 3 weeks I'm going to be spending down here. So we will be recording episodes of the Racer X Exhaust podcast, presented by Yoshimura right down here, down under. This week's subject is Joey Savatgy, who is now officially part of the JGR Yoshimura Suzuki factory racing team, but it was a long, arduous journey for Joey to get to this point to actually have a deal for 2019 locked in. In 2019 for 2020 locked in. And this podcast and this interview with him, which we did in New Zealand, is that story of that journey. It's all brought to you by Yoshimura. Savatgy's bike, I checked it out, has an all-new RS12 exhaust system on it. That's the latest and greatest from Yosh, and they will be available for other bikes eventually. So go to yoshimura-rd.com. If you have a Suzuki, though, you can order one right now and pre-order it to get it shipped to you. So go to yoshimura-rd.com. Also check out the latest issue of Racer X Illustrated. Go to racerxonline.com/subscribe right now. You can subscribe and get a 12-month calendar for 2020, the whole shot edition calendar. So check that out. The issue out right now. I have a story I wrote on Red Bull Straight Rhythm, kind of insider stuff that you probably didn't know happened. That's what we do. We sent our man Mitch Kendra to Las Vegas for the first time to somewhat cover Monster Energy Cup, but basically to go to all the parties and tell you what it would be like to be a rookie in Vegas. That's a really good one. And we're working on a new issue right now. I just wrapped up our Rider of the Year story, which will be coming to your mailbox soon. So racerxonline.com/subscribe. Now here comes Joey Savatgy. So you are officially, we can say this, you are really on JGR now. This is not like it's going to happen or it might happen. It's finally really happened.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We got a ride for 2020, so pretty amped on it, and thankful, for the opportunity, and just really glad to be going racing with the team. That's the bottom line. There was a period of time where, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, but everything works out for a reason, and here we are.
Okay, yeah, so what is that like? Like, when did you have to give bikes back, like with your old team? When did it end?
So, apparently, we gave them back, right away.
Like after Ironman?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we finished training for Ironman that week, and then we sent it back that week.
Wow.
So, I guess technically I could have kept them till the end of maybe September.
Yeah.
But, last year, the end of 2018, I went straight from Ironman to California and started riding Supercross.
That's right, I remember.
And I took a little bit of time off here for the wedding and a little bit, and a week, not even a week for the bachelor trip. So I pretty much went nonstop. I never took a break.
For 12 months.
Yeah. So we took 8-9 weeks off, which for me is a long time because I don't do well with taking time off. It takes me a little bit longer to kind of get going. But
okay.
We took 8 weeks off after the last round, and unfortunately, it was for the best. It wasn't, ideally, it was a lot of people were getting nervous, dude, we got to start riding. And then for the first 5 or 6 weeks, I was like, nah, dude, chill out, we're good, And then week 7 came around, and I'm like, we should probably start riding. And then week 8 came around, and I'm like, dude, we got to do something. We're getting late in the year, and we haven't ridden a bike.
Were you doing training just in general?
Yeah. No, I never really stopped training. So
okay.
I took I took 3 days off. So Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
After the last round, I just really chilled because we had the baby, and so I really, really chilled at home. But then after that, I did a lot of cycling, a lot of running, did a half marathon. So I did a lot of cardio wise stuff. But obviously on the bike stuff, I was not. We're not up to par as to where we were last year, but I'm just happy that we have a bike to ride.
Okay, yeah. So around week 6, 7, you're like, I got to start riding. What do you do at that point? What did you do?
Well, that was for me. I was I don't know what to do. Do I buy a bike?
Yeah.
But then if I buy a bike, I gotta get suspension. Mm-hmm. And I was I really don't want to buy a bike and get suspension because then I'll complain that the motor's not fast enough, and then I'll have to get a motor. Then I'll have $10,000+ into it. And, it's not that I wasn't willing to do that if that's what I had to do, but, this was lurking.
Yeah.
The JGR deal was lurking in the background, and it was like, hey, like it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time. And finally, we just came to the mutual agreement, like, hey, like if you want to come up, and just keep it under wraps and ride, like, and we start going, like, we're confident it's gonna work out. We don't know when, but we're gonna get there. And so that was finally, like, after week 8, I was like, dude, I gotta come up. Like, I can't do this anymore. Osho he probably lost hair on this whole deal because he's stressing. He's like, dude, we gotta ride. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, like, and he got it. He understood. He's like, I know you can't do anything. He's like, well, we just gotta ride. And I'm like, trying, we just came together and we're like, come up, let's start riding. Let's do a little bit of testing, and just believe and have faith that everything was gonna work.
Yeah, well, that's my next thing. So the physical part of riding you missed, but just mentally, emotionally, give me the highs and lows. You must have gone through like every stage during this.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, I don't ever ride all this.
So obviously, when they made the announcement that, I knew a long time ago I wasn't getting re-signed with Cowie, but and then they made the announcement before the last round, and it was a little bit of a bummer, honestly. Like, I was pretty upset about it, just because I felt like I had done a pretty good job. Like probably more than they expected. Obviously, maybe not so much outdoor. We had been struggling, but we were starting to go in the right direction, and I just was kind of bummed that, they made the announcement, because then everywhere, every signing we went to, it was like, oh, hey, Adam, congrats on the ride, and it's like sitting right next to me. I'm like, dude, I'm still on the team, So it was a little bit of a bummer, but then I had, we had our child, and she was a blessing, and, that really kind of took my mind off things for a long time, and that was like, that was something that really kept me, kept my head on straight, and helped me not lose my mind, So I think I went from probably the happiest I've ever been, with the birth of our child, and a healthy one, and the wife was healthy and all that, and that was like, the highest of the highs. And then about 5.5, 6 weeks in, where things are like, we don't know what we're doing yet. It's kind of like, I was like, I don't know, like, am I just gonna go privateer? Am I gonna go work at a grocery store? Like, I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. So there was, in like a 5-week period, it went from like top of the world to like, all right, dude, I'm kind of getting a little, not depressed, but bummed out.
Look, I've had 2 children myself. Having a newborn child cannot possibly help you keep your head on straight and keep you from not going insane. How is that possible, dude?
Well, it's yeah.
It was the most stressful weeks. That would have been the most stressful 5 weeks of my life, and you're saying it actually helped a little bit.
Yeah, it helped. It helped a lot for me, because it makes you realize that there's more to life than just dirt bikes. So
That's
like,
good.
for me, like, I was stressed because I wanted to ride, but at the same time, like, I had something in front of me that was so special, and that, regardless of what happened in this area, like, I was gonna be okay. Like,
right. Good point.
Everything happened, and she was healthy, and there was no problem. So I was like, okay, worst case scenario, we'll go privateer, and if it's worst case, I have other things that I can focus on and make better, and be a part of, and be a dad. That was the biggest thing for me, so yeah, it was stressful, and it still is stressful. She's not past that age yet where, everything's all clear, so it still is stressful, but we're over the hump as far as sleeping goes.
Yes.
But yeah, it was helpful in a weird way.
Well, no, that does make sense, because you would be, normally, your younger years, you'd be living and dying on the ride and the testing and the training. I got to get on a bike and my results next year. Now it's like important, but it takes the edge off of how important it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been around long enough, and obviously would have loved to have won a lot more races, won some titles, but I've been pretty smart with my money, and I have a lot of it invested, and I've been good with it. And obviously, my wife has actually been a really big factor in that, and she's helped me kind of get things going and doing the right stuff with the money. So, it wasn't like I was like, if we don't get a ride, like, we got to sell everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that stressful. It was like, if that happened, obviously we're gonna need to cut back and be a little bit smarter about things. But again, it was like, that crossed my mind for like a couple days when I was really bummed out. But right away, like, come home and the baby's there, and it's like, everything's gonna work out. Like, I got faith it'll work out. It might not be what we want. It might not be what we want dollars. It might not be what we want how many years or anything like that. But we're gonna have a motorcycle, and if I have a motorcycle to ride, I'm gonna put my best foot forward, and we're gonna make it work.
Through all this, and especially you had said you kind of knew all along you might not be back at Cowie for the second year. Does it Does it get you bitter about, like, because your results were good? I can't even think of an exact parallel to your situation. We've seen guys lose rides, but I don't feel like anyone did exactly what you did and didn't end up with a ride. Did that bum you out? Did you start saying why me or get mad at people about it?
I mean, dude, at the end of the day, like we're in a not great industry. Like as far as I don't want to say loyalty goes, but it's a dog eat dog world, you know. So like as soon as you have a spot, if there's a young guy coming up who's doing well and kicking butt, you got to worry about it because that's the next guy. And yeah, honestly, at one point in time, I was like, I think they might rehire me, you know, during Supercross.
Oh, you did? Okay.
There was a little bit of me that's like, dude, I'm doing, I think, better than they thought. And they're like, wow, like, I think we might want to keep him.
Was this actual talks or just...
No. It was just me, like...
Because we were riding well.
I mean, dude, like, there was a while there where we were, like... I felt like we were getting 6th or 5th, like, frequently. You know, we were battling for heat race wins. We were...
Podiums were definitely in reach.
Yeah, and we should have had a couple, you know, bar some mistakes. But, like, we were every weekend, like, up on the board for qualifying. So, you know, it was like, hey, he's got speed and, like, he's for real.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, you know, it kind of started the year off, hey, let's go for top 10s. Like, let's get into it and let's figure it out. And then we got to Triple Crown and then we got like 7th. And I'm like, that was cool, but I could have done better. You know, and then pretty soon we got 5th and I'm like, all right, sick. And then we got 5th again and I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, you know, like I'm happy with 5th, but so the greed took over a little bit. You know, you get... You get distracted and not as to what's in front of you. You know, like you start thinking of it too much and you start trying to bite off too much. Instead of taking what you got and working with it, it was like, all right, we got 5th. Like we got to be better next weekend. Instead of like, hey, like let's take next weekend, you know, lap by lap and let's improve and be better. And so, I mean, there was for sure a point in time where I was like, hey, we're doing really well.
Yep.
And I think people are really surprised. And, you know, so they took a gamble on me and it paid off. So, but again, like it was 50-50.
And I guess, look, they could have not even given you a deal last year. 100%. I mean, your deal was up. They didn't have to sign you at all.
No, absolutely. And that's where like people are like, oh, you got to be pissed at Cowie, blah blah. And it's like I'm really not, because at the end of the day, like I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like I'm forever thankful for Mitch Payton for giving me the opportunity to be on the bike.
Yeah.
And you know, and obviously I'm grateful for Bruce and for Dan and all of Kawasaki to give me the opportunity to even ride the bike, because obviously, as most people know, like 18 was tough for me. We as a team, as an individual, like I struggled. We didn't really get that many results. Like we didn't win that many races. So like as a whole, it wasn't a good year. And for me and my position leading, like basically senior year of the lights class, you know, you really need to have a good year. We didn't, and it was probably like one of the worst years I've ever had. So it was like, man, you know, a lot of things were against me, and it was like, God, dude, they might not even give me a ride, and like, and if I didn't get a ride, it was my fault because I didn't perform.
Yeah.
And you know, and again, they told me like, hey, like right from the beginning, straight up, like, hey, we took a gamble on you, and you know, like, we went against what a lot of people thought because you know that's what we felt like was right, and you know, so from that point, obviously, there's the right shoulder that's like, hey, I want to prove all these guys who talk bad and shut them up and basically tell them to go pound Sam.
Dude, when they signed you, dude, you were getting so much heat.
I got rid of, like, I stopped getting on social media because it was so bad. And it was
crazy.
Like, so, like, obviously the year started off tough. And then, like, so round 1 was tough. Round 2 was really tough. I crashed in the heat race, couldn't race. And I'm like, dude, I was so bummed.
Yeah.
And then round 3, we kind of started to figure it out. By round 4, it was we won the heat race, and I'm like, here we go. Like, we kind of get into a groove. So that's why, like, the right side of me was like, yeah, let's shut these guys up. But the other side is like, hey, like, don't get overconfident, because there's a lot of big name guys that you're racing who are very talented and are very fast. So it's like you got to have that fine balance of wanting to prove yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to come in overconfident and disrespect, you know, your competitors, because at the end of the day, you know, you got the world-class athletes you're racing against.
Yeah,
champions.
you don't want to be at that point you're saying where you're getting 7th place and feeling like you're garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
So it might just happen.
Yeah, and it was like a fine balance of, you know, like, be respectful, but at the same time, you know, like, you don't want to get pushed around. You don't want to get bullied.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't feel real good to get a lot of those good results, and all those people at the beginning that were like, oh, he'll be out by round 3, and you know, it'll be over. Like, there was a lot of me that was like, that feels good to shut those guys up.
Yeah, because there was a rookie class coming in, and unfortunately for you, each of those guys had a title. Osborne had a title, and Plessinger had a title, and Hill had a title. But in reality, you raced those guys for years, And it was like some weeks you beat them, some weeks you had beaten those guys at times, and they had beaten you.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't like, on paper, you were all the same, but for some reason, people didn't seem to look at it that way.
No, for sure. I think, honestly, out of all of us, I was probably, everyone expected me to do the worst.
I dude, straight up. Heard it for sure.
And like, if someone asked me that during the year last year, like, are you happy that you've been doing the best out of the rookies? And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care.
Yeah, that wasn't what you were focused on.
No, absolutely not. I'm focused on trying to be better, because at the end of the day, like, if I was worried about just beating those guys, then, you know, that's one thing. But I was focused on getting better and proving my worth and letting everyone know who made the gamble and believed in me, like, hey, you guys made the right choice. And yeah, like at the end of the night, if I got 5th and I was the top rookie, like, oh, that's a little bit of chip on the shoulder. Like, that's awesome. But if I wasn't the top rookie, I wasn't like, oh, dude, I got beat by him. It was like, all right, well, we got 8th tonight. Like, what did we do that wasn't good, and how can we be better?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, at the end of the year, Zach had a really good outdoor year, but I'd say consistently Supercross, I was better. So, yeah, of course it felt good to be the guy that comes up and, I don't want to say the underdog, but, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to do the worst and then end up doing the best. Yeah, of course, that's awesome, but that's not what I signed up for, and that's not why I went racing.
So, Anaheim won, like, Adam comes in saying, like, I'm going to be a different guy, and then he crashes, and he's like, haha, I guess I'm not a different guy. First couple races were only okay. Then he starts winning a bunch. Did you actually keep an eye on that? Or you're like, I'm just doing my thing? Or does it cross your mind like, oh, man, if some other Cowie guy starts doing good?
No, not really. I mean, it's tough, man, because those series are so short, and, you know, like, you can make or break it in one round. And when you got 17 rounds, you can afford... You can never afford to have a bad night, but there's so much more room for error when you're 17 rounds you have to race. And, I mean, obviously I always saw if you won or didn't win because we were on the gate, but it was never like, oh, if he does good, like, it's going to hurt me. It was like, hey, good for him, you know, like, he rode well. Yeah. But, again, and of course there's always ego involved, like, oh, well, you know, if I was there, it's always like that, you know? And so for me it was like, hey, like, when I raced him, it was a battle, and I felt like, you know, like, it could go either way. So when he was winning, he was doing well and he was doing a good job, but it was also like, hey, like, what if Osborne was still in the class? What if I was still in the class? And he'll, you know, like, let's go back here, like, let's again, like, let's see where it would be, you know, because you're always comparing yourself with someone, you know, like, that's the bottom line. And
and you spent a lot of years racing each other in the end.
Yeah. So we were on the same team for 5 years, you know, so it was always like, you never wanted to be the low dog, the low one on the totem pole on the same team. And so, you know, like, that was always like the joke. You know, whoever did best on the weekend was the big man on the totem pole.
What about practice? Because I feel like you guys were 1-2 in whatever order it might be, a lot, especially outdoors. Did it just work out that way, or were you actually, like, focused on practice?
Obviously, like, I never wanted to lose to your teammate in practice, but, like, it got to the point where I was finally like, dude, I can't. He was willing to push it a lot farther than I was for practice, and I finally was like, bro, you can have it.
Oh,
you know, and then there was rounds where, like, it came naturally to me, and I could put down a faster lap, but, like, yeah, between Adam and Justin Cooper, dude, I was like, you guys can have it. Like, I'm not committed. I can't send it that hard in practice when there's nothing on the line for me, you know, like. Yeah. And more Supercross, I think, than outdoor. Because outdoor, you're pretty much, like, controlled. But Supercross, you know, if you want to send in the whoops, you can make up half a second. And that's where, you know, like, those guys were really, they're not scared. And I tip my hat to them, but I'm just more of a control guy, and I'm not willing to put things on the edge in practice. You know, just because, like, in reality, like, the risk versus reward, you send it and it doesn't go well, what did you gain out of it besides yard sailing? You know, we would have been fastest qualifier, but instead we were third. It's like,
Or hurt,
exactly. So it's like, that's where it's the being in the premier class and going a full year, it really makes you understand, like, hey, you got to give and take. On those nights where you can push and fight, and there's those nights where you're really, really struggling and it's survival, and that's where, like, those are your bad nights that you have to really buckle down and tell yourself, hey, like, I'm not feeling great tonight, but we're going to push through and we're going to maximize points.
Yeah. Okay, so fast forward to this. So the JGR thing, you had to have faith in them. At any point, were you looking at any other bikes? Because you thought, like, maybe it won't work out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there was a plan B that we were looking into.
Okay, there was.
Yeah.
All right. But this did work.
Yep.
And you show up at Paris, and it seems like a surprise only because, like, some folks, like, we knew that you'd been riding. Maybe some fans didn't at all. But it still wasn't much time.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, there's never enough time. You always wish, if I had a little bit more, or like if it was a little bit better here, I was a little bit. So there's always a little bit more. But I mean, dude, all things considered, like we probably had 3 weeks ish, maybe 4 weeks. I lost a week at home because of the rain. Couldn't ride at all.
Yeah.
And we got probably 5 days or so of testing in.
Okay.
So I mean, we got a fair amount for the short amount of time that we were in, but there's never like, hey, I'm super ready. I don't need any more riding. And showing up to Paris, I was like, well, this is gonna be interesting, because I didn't ride it all the week before I left, and then that whole week I had to be in Italy for this trade show for Just One, and then I flew to Paris, and so I hadn't ridden in almost 2 weeks.
Oh, after having 7 weeks off.
Yes.
Also.
So you go straight to Paris after having a lot of time off, and it's like, man, we went out for the bike test Friday, and I was like, man, we got a lot of work to do. Like, felt super squirrely, just. And for me, I'm not a guy who takes time off, like I said. So taking that week and a half, almost 2 weeks off before we went racing was even tougher for me.
Okay, so you're saying the bike is different from here and there? Was more stock what you had there, or no?
Yeah. So Paris everything was bone stock except for pipe.
Pipe, suspension, some chassis pieces.
Yeah.
Okay.
But engine-wise, it was stock springs, stock clutch, stock everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stock engine.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that's where it was like, all right. The last time I rode at home, I was on a good bike. We get here, we're on a stock bike with suspension, that's all I really wanted.
Yeah.
But then you start
But it was different
you
than what
get
you had
going,
at home.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't have the bottom end that you're used to. It runs a little bit different. And then the Honda guys, they brought good stuff.
Yeah.
And then the Yamahas were stock, but their stock department's not too bad. So it was like, all right.
The Yamahas are fast. Yes.
And so for me, I was like, all right, well, we could do this. Like, we went out for practice, and it was good. We went out for Super Pole, and I struggled a little bit, but we got pretty good starts the first night. And we got third overall in night going 2:10.2, and I was like, all right, sweet. Like, we're going to win. Like, I want to win.
Okay.
And that was where
All
things
right.
went south.
It went from we're here for seat time of the bike, to we're going to go win.
Yeah. And that's
Like you heard this, Renee. These are the words. The goals changed.
Yeah, and I didn't verbally say it, but he could tell in my demeanor. Everything went from like, yeah, let's have some fun, to like, it got really quiet and serious. Because, like, dude, I mean, we went out the first night and no one expected anything, and everyone's like, oh, this is the end, and then you go out and you shut everyone up on a bike that's completely stock with suspension.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, dude, like, we could really do some damage.
That very first main, you were moving forward.
Yep.
If there was more time,
Well, I would have caught Dylan.
I think so.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he might have won the first race.
Yep, and then obviously the second one, he kind of threw it in the first turn hot, and we got together, and then I made another mistake on my own. But like 2:10.2, all things considered, I think a lot of people, kind of bit their tongue on that. But
then did you get greedy for night two?
exactly.
You
So
did, okay.
so instead of, like I talked about last year, instead of taking what you got and working with it, it was like, all right, dude, we got second twice. We probably could have won the second main, and so we could have gone 2-1-2 and won the overall. To like, all right, dude, tomorrow it's game on.
Okay.
And that was where, like, if we would have just kept the same mentality and enjoyed it, might have rode a little bit looser, maybe not force so many things. But, and again, that's the tough part, because you got to have a fine balance of wanting more and not being over greedy.
Plus, these are off-season races,
Yeah.
so I don't know how you play that. And honestly, how much experience do you have doing these?
Paris was my first time.
Really?
Yeah.
The race that kind
Well,
of counts but doesn't count.
on a professional level.
Yeah, yeah,
I raced
yeah.
like the 125 stuff, the World Junior Championships in 2010 and 11. But
Right.
as a professional, that was the first time that I'd really like gone overseas and brought my own stuff and raced. So it was a learning experience, and it was a lot of racing. And again, it's tough, dude, because I like to win and I like competing, and so to have the mentality of, hey, it's just overseas, let's enjoy it. It's like it's just tough for me.
And explain to people, I don't even think the money's pretty much what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like the incentive to win, you just do it because you
there
want
is none. Yeah,
to.
exactly.
Just go for it because that's what you are. As racers.
There's no win bonuses.
So the only reason anyone's pushing
It's because they want to win.
Really?
Yeah. So if everyone was like, hey, like, let's all sign this, like, everyone agrees, like, we're just gonna go 80%, we're gonna go like a couple, like, we're gonna block pass each other and it's gonna be all fun.
Yeah.
And then like maybe the last lap to send it, like, everyone would agree, we'd all do it. But it always starts off like 58 lap time, and like that was pretty fast, and then someone goes 57 and a half. You're like, all right, this guy wants to go faster. So then it escalates, and then by the time you go racing, it's like everyone's full send.
Yeah, I challenge anyone watching those races or even here to tell me the difference. It looks the same.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we're over here to have fun, and then as soon as you put the helmet on, it's like, all right, I want to kick these guys' ass, you know, and that's the bottom line. And you ask anyone else in here, it's the same thing. Like, I want to beat him. I want to win.
Yep.
And as much as it's like, hey, we're here to have a good time, we are here to have a good time until the gate drops. And then it's like it's just the natural competitor competition mindset. It's like I'm racing. Like I want to win.
Okay, so you're going to race here and Melbourne. Then what's the month and a half, so to speak, plan to... I guess you got some lost time to make up. You got a new team, new bike, all this stuff. There's a lot on your menu here between now and Anaheim.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we'll be here and we'll race tonight. I'll go home. I'll be there for a week, and then I'll come back to Melbourne to do the final round, and then from there I'll go back and...
So you get some riding testing stuff in that week in between?
Yes, yeah. Depending on how tonight goes. Obviously, like, if things go well tonight, and
testing right now.
Yeah, we are testing right now.
Okay, you have enough stuff here where you can actually use it as testing.
Exactly.
Okay,
so it's like, you know, if tonight goes well and I'm pretty happy, I might go home for that week and burn laps.
Yeah.
Burn laps.
Yep.
And obviously, and at some point in time, I'm like, man, I think this could be better. I get a flight and I'm there in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
like it's no problem, and we can test at any point in time we want. But obviously we got photo shoots and we got some more time I need to spend up there for sure. But as of right now, like we're pretty much playing it day by day, and we're here today and we're flying home tomorrow, and you know next week's kind of an unknown. So,
Wow.
Again, if we go out tonight and we win, hey, I'll see you at Melbourne.
That's right. That's right. The team itself obviously went through almost the same. They were like on parallel tracks. They're wondering what's going to happen. You haven't been there much. It's all kind of just happened, the official signing. But there has to be this massive sense of relief, both for you, probably for everybody. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
I mean,
at least it's done, dude.
Exactly. Once it was done, it was like everyone's like, all right, cool. Like this is what we're doing. We're going racing.
Yeah.
It might not be on the terms that we thought it was or whatever, but we're going racing.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between thinking and being told and doing. And
Yeah.
that's the same. I've said that too about winning races. Like you tell yourself I can win, it's one thing, but you go and win, it's totally different. You know, that changes everything. And it's like, hey, you're gonna have a ride. All right, sweet. Well, is it signed yet? No, not yet. Okay, well, I don't have a ride. Then you sign the paperwork and it's a done deal. You have a ride.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big difference between being told that you have a ride and,
Yes.
and you're going racing and actually know for sure you're going. So I think
even the during the week prep before the deal was signed, getting up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and having a program, so to speak, is that part even a little different when you're not exactly sure? Or can you convince yourself when you're riding that it's all the same?
No, for sure. Like the first little bit riding, I'm like, man, like I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this thing, and like it's not even a done deal, you know. But again, it's back to the having a child thing. I come home and
Okay.
you know, and it's like that's my motivation. Like I wanna continue to improve, and I want to go on to win races and fight for championships, and I want to provide for her. Like I want to provide to where she can have whatever she wants, and she doesn't
Yeah.
need to worry about it.
I
You know,
see.
so like that's motivation for me. I got to put food on the table. Like, and I got a family now to feed, and not that I was never motivated before, but during this whole process of not knowing and still doing the work, it was
Yeah.
like, hey, like I don't feel bad for myself because God forbid this doesn't work out, I'll go do it on my own. And if I can't do it on my own, I'm going to stay ready for the first time someone needs a fill-in guy, I'll be
Okay.
there.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
you're far from done.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
there's nothing in my mind where I was like, I'm done if I don't get a ride. It was like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the circumstance, and this is plan B, and this is plan C.
Hey, real quick reminder, of course, all these podcasts are brought to you by Yoshimura, and go to racerxonline.com/subscribe for the latest offer, which is a 2020 calendar for the magazine. And one other topic I wanted to bring up with Joey Savatgy, did a podcast with Michael Antonovich at Swap Moto Live, I think about 2 months ago, where he explained that he did not get any money from Eli Tomac for moving over last year at Monster Energy Cup. I actually did a pod with Savatgy earlier this year. I just assumed that there was some sort of pay because he obviously moved over for Eli and helped him win $1 million. I should have asked because apparently there was no payment. And he mentioned that in the podcast that he did with Antonovich, so I decided to follow up. I was surprised, actually, when Savatgy said he didn't get any money from Eli. Some people thought that was bad of Eli, but actually some people thought Savatgy was being a crybaby about bringing it up at all. So I asked him about that here. The last thing is you did a podcast with Anton, and you mentioned the Monster Cup last year, and I was shocked. You got blown out by people. You did. I was like, he told a good story. He told the truth. I feel bad for the guy. And then he still got like 50-50 wrecked on that.
Yeah,
you
dude.
bummed on that reaction.
I got when you mean they blew me out for doing the interview with Anton about just saying
You
Eli
said
didn't
like,
make it.
hey, I didn't get any money from him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, good for him. He told the truth.
Yep.
And then the reaction was like mixed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, dude. It's like, God, that stuff drives me insane because the same people who always, talk about me and like, oh, well, he's too close. He never does interviews. He's always blah. He always seems mad. I'm like, all right, you guys want the honest truth.
You threw it out
there. You go. So I give him the honest truth, and everyone's like, oh, he's a crybaby. And I'm like, dude, listen, first off, I never once was upset about it. I was bummed because I felt like for man to man, me to him, I felt like he could have handled the situation better. And maybe that was how I should have put it. Like I should have just simplified it for all the Vitards out there that can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Like I should have just said, hey, I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again. I wish you would have handled it better because I felt like from a man to man, and everything that happened, he could have done things better. And I should have left it at that because then maybe it wouldn't have been so like mixed because people were like, oh, well, he said he didn't want a thank you, but then he's crying about not getting one. And that was never the thing. I just would have liked an acknowledgement, I didn't expect one. I didn't expect money. I would have loved to have gotten some money thrown back my way, and I would have loved to have gotten, hey, dude, like, just a high five. Thanks, man. Like, let's get lunch. Take me to lunch one day. That's it. I would have been so.
Wasn't even like a handshake over it?
No.
Wasn't even like a thanks?
And no,
That's
it was never
weird.
anything. And that was the thing. So thinking about it, I watched the race again because I was like, hey, maybe I missed something. I came up to him after the finish line and told him good job, and he shook my hand. And he might have said, hey, good job to you too.
Yeah.
But never again was it ever talked about, And
That's a little weird.
and yeah, it's weird. And for me, like, if I didn't go up to him on that berm, would he have ever came up to me and told me good job? That was my thing. So,
Right.
like, he just didn't make the effort. And again, like, we've talked about it a lot and people are tired of hearing about it, but I just wish that he would have handled it a little bit differently. And that's it. I guess the bottom line. I still respect him. He's still a bad dude on a motorcycle,
Yeah.
and that won't change. I respect the hell out of him. But as a person, I lost respect.
Yeah, this is not you leaving like, I'm Alf Cowie, I hate Tomax. It wasn't you like blowing the whole thing out. That's not the way you meant for that to come.
No, and that was people were like, oh, what an idiot. He just blew Cowie out, like he's burned that bridge. And honestly, it's not like that because I have a lot of respect for Cowie and again, I'm very grateful for them and for giving me the opportunity. I don't as a individual, I have less respect for Eli and for his camp and how they handled things. Doesn't mean I have less respect for Cowie. Like at the end of the day, it wasn't Cowie's responsibility to pay me.
Yep.
The difference, like,
Nope.
All Cowie did was go from going 1 and 2 to Eli winning $1 million and me being bumped back to third.
Yeah, they make $0 on any of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like for them, it was like, hey, like we can't do anything, and I was a little bummed, but I got it because it's not their responsibility.
Nope.
It's the guy who just profited $900,000. It's his responsibility to say, hey, either thanks, like I'll take you to lunch, there's something, and again, it just was never handled, and it is what it is.
Okay. But you weren't crying.
No, absolutely not,
Okay.
dude. Like, trust me, I don't need reassurance from anyone. I don't need anyone to tell me good job. Like, I'm very self-motivated. I got no problems with it. Does having a baby help the motivation? Of course. It always does. There's always something that maybe helps a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I didn't need a thank you from him. I would have loved to thank you, though. Or I would have loved an acknowledgement. Hey, I appreciated that. He didn't have to say thank you. He could have gone about it and said, dude, I think I would have passed you, but thanks for making it easy. And that's it. End of the conversation, I'd have been, hey, dude, no problem. And that would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
No worries.
So does it all add up to, hey, you almost didn't have a ride for a while? Is that a little extra motivation for next year, too?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
A little bit of an underdog.
yeah. And I hate to use the word underdog because in my mind I'm not, but I think there's definitely chip on the shoulder.
Okay.
But in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
obviously I don't ever want to have the attitude of like, I want to go next year and I want to take those guys out and just laugh in their face. It's never like that. Like, it's the chip on my shoulder is, hey, like, I want to do well and be like, hey, like, you guys had your choice and you didn't want me, and like, that sucks, but Like I want to make them think about their decision. And I mean that in a respectful way, because people I can already see are going to take that the wrong way.
Exactly.
And it's not like that. I just want them to be like, man, like he's doing really well this year, and that's it.
You're not going to walk past the truck and point at them.
No, exactly. Like I'll see him, and I'll say hey, and I'll chat with him, and like I said, there's a chip on my shoulder, and I want to do well to let him know, hey, like, yeah, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere.